tell you about Aristotle's modes of persuasion, thinking about this in terms of communication. Often in our conversations we're trying to persuade, or at least we're trying to put forward a position that we want the other person to consider. And Aristotle says that there are three crucial things in order to help this engagement: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is our ethics. Can we be trusted? The starting point for the individual might be that you can't be. There is a power differential going on sometimes in social work, and for the people who are on the end of social work, if you like. And difficult conversations are easier when there's a relationship of trust there, and we have to have difficult conversations sometimes. Now, trust's not about liking each other. It's not about that. It's about a functional relationship. A functional relationship that allows for disagreement or differences of opinion, but still allows for us to kind of stay on track. Nothing worse than feeling on the back foot, for them, the other person, or for you. And the social contract gets established in the very early parts of an interaction based on our previous knowledge. So maybe we're trying to overturn ideas of who or what social workers are based on the other person's experience. I'm always fond of saying that if you don't establish your own relationship with the person, then you are probably having the relationship that they had with the previous social worker that they had. So what's your relationship like with the person? Where are you at with them? And that'll emerge and change and shift. What's the relationship of the person with social work? So overcoming those kind of potential obstacles, I feel, is a cornerstone of social work practice, and how we communicate is essential in that area. Listening is crucial. I love that kind of maxim: nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And surely you were tasked to care. So building rapport is crucial. I suppose being honest about difficult things is important. I remember somebody telling me that. Someone who had been invited in to talk to students in the university I work in. They said, I just want you to be honest about difficult things. I'm not going to like it, and I'm probably going to get annoyed and maybe upset and maybe angry. But it would be better if I just know and have that difficult conversation. Those kind of things build trust. So we've got to start with trust. We've got to start with ethos. Our ethics. Why should this person trust us? What's our ethical position that says, I'm someone who you can trust, I'm someone who you can get along with? And then the next thing is pathos, emotion. There's always an emotional content to what we do. It's a theme that I think I keep returning to time and time again, particularly in the thinking and the work I do around self-care. There's an emotional component for us, but there is absolutely an emotional component for the people that we're there to work with. So emotional intelligence is key. From our point of view as the professional here, because we're the ones that have got to put the work in here. The person we're there with, the parent, the older person, they're allowed to get emotional. We have to maintain emotional control. Emotional control stifles impulsiveness. So it kind of mediates our response, It's that Viktor Frankl thing about, in between a stimulant and a response, there's a gap. And that gap is where we mediate that response. And we become resilient by learning how to respond calmly and agilely and manage our emotional energy, I suppose. And emotions are contagious. When somebody's angry with us, or we're angry with somebody in life, never mind in practice, that anger tends to kind of fuel the relationship in a negative way. And one of the problems with anger is people, all of us, when we're angry, we seek to justify why we're angry, even in the face of evidence to the contrary that we might not be right or whatever. Charles Darwin said that emotions help us communicate with ourselves. They relate to our values. They tell us what's important to us. So there's an emotional component we have to manage, and we have to start by managing our own emotions so we can respond pragmatically. And then the final thing is logos, logic. Aristotle says if we're going to persuade, our persuasion has to be logical. We have to think clearly. A conversation, or the conversations that we have, are two people in a dialogue trying to find out the truth of the situation. That's a lot of what we do, isn't it? The conversation must connect how people understand things. So the other person's view and your view, and it must connect those things and figure out where the truth is in the midst of all that. And it might be at one end of the spectrum or the other, or it might be right slap bang in the middle. So we've got to find an understanding. Find theirs, find ours, connect the two. And people do manage the truth, you know. They don't sometimes even know that they're telling untruths. I suppose one of the things that people are trying to do is get you out the door. So they might tell you stuff that's not right because they think it's what you want to hear. So what you are saying has to be logical. It has to be easy to understand, straightforward to understand, not complicated jargon, not complicated words. You'll be trying to explain complicated things sometimes. You might be explaining the law to people and their rights to people. But we have to explain it in a way where we're sure that they're understanding what we're saying. So ethos, pathos and logos, ethics, emotions and logic are the cornerstones of kind of how we're communicating. And that stimulates discussion, and discussion creates understanding rather than division, which is what we get into when people start to get frustrated and angry. So I think that's important. And I like to think of the words trust, accountability and honesty in there. Difficult concepts, ideas that they are to manage in the practice world. So that's Aristotle's modes of persuasion and what they can tell us about communicating with the people we work with. Ethos, pathos and logos.